Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, good to have you all. We're going to do a full run through of housekeeping, so we're going to try and keep it quick fire unless you've got a particularly pertinent point to add about housekeeping, okay? I'll try and keep them in a relatively familiar order as well. An evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge that's a horizon formerly known as Earth curvature.
No, they would need one if they're going to claim to be living on the globe, but no.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
I'm going to say no to that as well, because if the Earth was spinning, flights from east to west would be shorter all the time, and they're not.
Well, you would need a radius before you could have an axis.
Okay, any evidence of Earth radius? That's the R value for a sphere Earth.
Come on, John. You're going to need a flat Earth for that.
Yeah, the only way to answer that is to utilize the flat Earth.
What about any?
Where does that lead?
Any evidence of the distance to the sun? I might as well just slip it in before you get the rest of that out. Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Oh, I was going to say it requires a flat plane angle measurement. So the rest of your conclusion would be non sequitur if it denied that measurement.
Right, same goes for the distance to the sun. They're going to employ flat Earth methodology to measure Earth and then infer distances based on scaling values for the lights that they assume are orbiting around a sphere Earth that they've assumed, and scaling values that Kepler's given them and Huygens has given them, with the Venus being the same size as Earth assumption that he made to give you the scaling values and scaling distances for things like the sun. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Something that's never been observed.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Hello.
But you say, isn't the claim of gravity, all things go down to the center of the Earth, mass attracts mass, and now it's 4D space-time, but it's never been observed?
That's correct. There is no naturally occurring phenomena. So when the assertion gets made that there is a force in effect that explains why all things tend towards the ground, they don't. Just look up, there's clouds. You can release a helium balloon. So next time somebody drops a mic and says that's gravity, just release a helium balloon and laugh at them. Not all things tend to the ground, so there's no need for an explanation of why things all tend to the ground. They don't.
Yeah, and not only can gravity not be perceived, it also can technically not affect us. How about that?
A pseudo-force space-time bending is a conceptual medium that we don't exist within, merely used to describe mathematically some of the observations in the stars, with gravity being replaced 108 years ago by a fourth dimension that bends called geodesics. But we don't exist in a time dimension. Time has been taken out of its context, used outside of its convention, and then described as a fabric that we move along and bend. Meanwhile, we have no reason as flat earthers, just to round this out, to explain any phenomena because there isn't any phenomena. Not all things tend to the ground. Some things remain neutral. Most things remain neutral. Most things are in equilibrium. Some things go up, look up at the clouds. Some things, if you take them out of equilibrium especially, can move back to where they came from in equilibrium. Sometimes that's down if the things are more dense than the air. None of this needs to be explained. I don't need to give any of that little amble because it's not our place to make claims when we don't have a claim in the first instance. What's the claim? All things tend to the ground. No, they don't. Right, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Those fields of study are not science.
There's not going to be any
Natural
scientific evidence
science.
from those pseudoscience fields then, John.
Nope.
You
No
Well,
know what's
hypothesis.
wonderful about this? Real quick, what's wonderful about this? I recall a few minutes, or rather, a considerable amount of minutes spent on the positive claim argument between refractive and I think it was Brian, or refractive intent. And it's important because when you guys say we didn't make the claim of such things that all things go down, people have to understand what you did back then. You don't have to do it now, but you broke down what a claim is and the differential between a positive claim and just a regular claim. So it's so important how you guys, back to what Blind Spot said, how you guys break down things and how you dissect even the smallest aspects of an explanation within an explanation. And positive claim and specificity means you're the one coming in saying that all things go down. And all you have to do is rebut it by, rebut it by saying, no, they don't. Like Nathan said. And then if they say, explain, you don't have to get all into why, just say, look outside, helium balloon, etc. So I just wanted to put that in there,
Yeah.
that claim term.
Sure, there's a bit of an
It's
Sorry.
internal struggle
thing.
going on at the moment, right? Because there's plenty of people that have put a lot of work in and a lot of effort in for us to fully understand what explains a non-phenomena we aren't claiming. Now, I've summarized it in a way that wasn't possible maybe 12 months ago. But now we can say, no, now that we're in a position where we have identified what their positive claim is, and that the initial claim fails, there is no initial claim to defend because it does not happen in nature. That is the end of the argument. Up until now, we've started explaining what they explain in respect to all things going down, but whistled past that positive claim that does not hold true and started explaining why some things go down, some things go up, some things remain neutral, with an effect we would describe as relative density disequilibrium. When you show that something that's pulled out of equilibrium, like picking up a microphone in air and then releasing it for it to return from whence it came, is merely the effect of relative density. That is to say that the microphone is more dense than the air it is temporarily suspended in someone's hand, and then when released, it returns through the medium that it is more dense than. Had it have been less dense than the medium, like a helium balloon, it would have gone up. But in so doing, our explanation whistles past the fact that the claim in the first place, the positive assertion, extraordinary in nature, is that all things tend towards the ground, and that's why we're held here. And when we are being held here, we're going to be describing that always being pulled down when we're not doing a damn thing as 1G. Well, we're not experiencing 1G, and ergo, when we are falling towards our death, that's 0G. It's a nonsense moving of the scale to introduce a force that is not in existence by asserting that all things go down, and when all things go down, when they are more dense than the medium only, we, being more dense than our medium, are being held down by the force of gravity, simply there to stop us flying off a water ball that's spinning at an astronomical speed through a sky vacuum that would leave us with no air to breathe and no water to swim in.
Right. And the thing is, if you skip past that initial point, the best you can hope for, even if you win the argument, is that the cause of everything falling down is its relative density. That's the problem we find ourselves in with a lot of our opponents, is they think that's the argument.
Which is a draw. So they can say, well, we explained some of the aspects of relative density because the gas going down forces the helium balloon up when all gases are expanding in all directions at a high velocity into whatever containment they have, as opposed to being pulled down towards the ground when they're going up. So your clouds are being pulled down by the gas around them, falling down, go boom, boom. Yeah, gases don't behave like that. But if you've not identified that not all things go down, you're suddenly into explaining how, no, it's not that all gases go down. Gases don't go down. What do you say? Gases go down, go boom, boom? No. Why are we entering into that argument, much as this is to my own detriment? No, not all things go down. End of argument. Moving on. Any evidence you can acquire?
Yes.
I'm trying to keep it quick fire for housekeeping, but go on.
No, I was just going to say to your point about gas, especially when you have citations that say, quote, a gas has no fixed shape or volume. The atoms or molecules that make up the gas fill the container that holds them. The gas expands until it is uniformly distributed throughout the container, even in the presence of gravity. If not confined to a container, a gas disperses into space. Now, that's not a flat earther writing that. That's the heliocentric side. That's the globe narrative. And even they tell you that.
You
So
post
it's a
that
hell of a
citation.
thing. Yeah, I could do that.
Well, while he's posting that, might as well ask the question. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure, like we're all breathing, without a container?
Well, ballers
Well,
like
that
to
would.
give explanations, but they can't demonstrate any of those explanations. And then they get angry that you don't believe what they claim to happen in the sky, which they can't demonstrate down here where we are. It's all very silly.
That's a
That would,
twofold.
that would
That's a
also
two.
go back. Sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's a twofold argument that we win. You need a container to create a vacuum because nature abhors a vacuum, and you need a container to create pressure, gas pressure. So both need a container.
I posted that in Masterpiece.
Yes,
Thank
on
you.
screen. The audience have got it from now. What is?
Right, because the gas pressure differential is a vacuum.
You guys hear
And-
me?
Yes, we do hear you, Owen. I mean, we were just ignoring you.
Oh, thanks.
No, we couldn't. Now we can.
Right, but I was going to say we can't create any demonstration of gas pressures or the lack thereof with less than one container. There's always going to be one container at least.
In the heliocentric mathematical world, one container plus one container equals no containers. Did you know that?
Globe
What?
math, baby.
What?
One container plus another separate container, potentially even within the first container, equals no container. Cool, huh? That's globe logic.
That sounds like malformed math.
Nah, man. Two containers make a non-container. It's just how it is if you're a globe head. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Never been done before. Can't ever be done.
Yeah, the definition of angle excludes any attempt.
Or how about any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth, whereat we could take angle measurements? I'm going to add that in from now on.
Angles from hell, but next to a molten iron core that needs an R to begin with. No,
Any
none
evidence
of
of a molten iron hell capable of putting angles at?
that. Well, now we get to the core of the argument. No.
Fair enough. Right, that concludes the housekeeping questions. It's been a while since we've done all of them, right? That was not bad.
Yeah.
How many minutes?
No, that was
15
good.
minutes. Not bad, not bad. Very good. Okay, so today we are going to be covering this, and there's a link going by in the chat right now so that you can go and let Neil deGrasse Tyson know that that's Nathan Oakley 1980, or at Nathan Oakley 1980, responded to this video. Handpicked by our absolutely wonderful panel member, 10th Man. As always, we are blind, and the reason we are blind to this video and asking you to share the link is simply for selfish motivations. That is to say, I would hope that were Neil or any of the people we respond to in this respect were to actually respond, do a bit of due diligence and address some of the major issues that we highlight here, they would put a link to my video. Heaven forbid. Anyway, that would be the love that I would hope algorithmically we are afforded by our opponents, because it certainly isn't being afforded to us by any other means. So in the vague hope that we might get a link to this video put in a Tyson video in response, please go and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, helping him in the algorithm where he gets so much promotion already. Anyway, we're going to get into this. I'll leave all the mic lines open. If anybody does want to pipe up, feel free.
Chuck, what's the tallest mountain in the world?
Is it Everest?
Yeah, Mount Everest. Mount
Yeah.
Everest. And tallest compared to what?
K2.
Okay.
Going to be measured against sea level. So in terms of giving things in terms of their elevation, it's going to be referenced to a flat earth. All of the heights are going to be in reference to a Cartesian flat earth grid system. And colloquially, we refer to it as sea level.
I can tell that's the only other possible answer you could give in this session.
That's all.
K2. That's K1.
K1,
K2.
K2.
The North Face.
That's it.
That's all you got. That's all you got for me.
I offered a flat earth and a Cartesian grid system and sea level. Lots of things proving flat earth I offered.
Hey, and any other clothing that might like Patagonia or anything. That's all I know. 'Cause let me tell you something. Let me tell you what you will not find on the top of any mountain. This black man right here.
You know, that's something I would totally agree with you there. Is this guy called Chuck? Is it Chuck? Yes, Nathan, he's called Chuck.
Yeah, I think so.
I am with your black ass on that one, my friend. You would not find my
Chuck.
white ass on top of that mountain. It sounds very dangerous.
Chuck the clown. Chuck the clown. Sidekick, hype man, Chuck.
Oh, he's all right. I don't
Yeah.
mind Chuck. You know, that's what he is, isn't he, Chuck? He's there for chuckles. Fair enough.
This is like, it's like the Globe Comedy Hour with these two. They're like the two old guys in that Muppet Show, just sitting there telling jokes. That's what I feel like when I listen.
Exactly.
Chuck isn't old. What are you
That's a
saying?
good word,
Tyson's old.
Chuck
This
is
guy's
Chuck.
not that old. How old do you reckon this guy is?
I'm not comparing them by age. Just the fact that they sit there. You know what
So
I'm saying?
forced, though, isn't it? You know, it's like they've said to him, look, right, no offense, Tyson, you were great with all the visual editing on Space, and, you know, you're great when you've got a big audience in Comedy Central and plenty of people to bounce off. But when you're on your own, you're about as dry as a nun's fanny, and we need someone else to liven you up a bit. So here's Chuck. Laugh along with him. When he laughs, just force out a laugh alongside him, and it'll all work. Just trust us.
Okay. You will not find my
No,
black
you could go if there's snow on the mountain. That's not a mountain you're gonna be on.
Yeah,
You could go to where Martin Luther King's mountain, where he sees the promised land.
Let me just tell
that
you
mountain
this.
didn't have snow.
I'm
Mountain didn't
sorry.
have snow.
I gotta tell Brother Martin, I'm sorry. I'm a wave to you from the bottom base camp.
Can I tell you a story? This is going to be such a sidetrack away from this. As they're just like non sequitur miles off the railroads, why can't I do the same thing? Right? My brother was married to a Swiss girl, a gymnast, Olympic medalist, and all the rest of it. She was very, very talented, but she was very athletic and liked doing skiing. Obviously, she lived in Switzerland and had access to lots of good slopes. So one time we went up. Me and a girl that I was with while I was there, my brother and his wife, all went up to the mountain and did some skiing. We got invited, so these flyers come round. We were seen as being cool and hip, and we got invited to what in Swiss German said on the invitation, beach party. Now it didn't, it was in Swiss German, so I can't remember exactly, but I looked at it and I was like, well, we're on the top of a mountain. It's just going to be me not understanding Swiss German. There's going to be some in-joke that I don't get about what this loose translation to beach party from German to English actually is. because it's not going to be a beach party, is it? Anyway, so we take all of our stuff up to the top of this hut on the top of one of the peaks, and there's a kind of funny vibe coming off there, and you're like, okay, fair enough. We hand over our invite, open the door, and the moment we walk in, there are dozens upon dozens of semi-naked women spraying water guns over each other, sweating and steam, and there's rubber up every wall. There's buckets of water being thrown on everybody. Everybody's shit-faced. They've got the temperature at 100 degrees. It's absolutely insane. I've never experienced. I don't think I'll ever experience anything like it ever again. And this is in sub-zero temperatures at the top of a mountain. The Swiss are bonkers. And that was just a segue to something that happened at the top of a mountain, because I could think of a better story than what they're giggling about, just to keep my audience entertained, where these two numpties are being boring and talking about not going up. Anyway, just thought that little anecdote would impart some joy on my audience. Let's carry on.
So Chuck would have liked to go on up there then, in other words.
Oh man, I enjoyed it. Let's be honest, it was wonderful. God, to be 20 in my 20s again.
Wouldn't it be unbearable?
It was a really weird experience to go from being outside minus temperatures to being absolute, to the point where you had no choice but to strip off. So there's a reason everybody in there's half naked, because it was absolutely blisteringly hot in there, and they're all spraying each other with water pistols.
How'd you miss my pun?
Oh, okay, my bad. I'm too wrapped up in my own anecdote now.
For you to I'm gonna wait for you to get back down here and tell me everything's okay.
I've been to the mountaintop.
And I'm like, good for you. Can you take a picture, put it on Instagram? I would like to see it. Okay.
He would say, no, not Mount Everest. I'm talking about that other mountain with no snow.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. So how do they measure the height of, it's the height relative to what?
Sea level. Yeah, above sea level? How high above sea level? We just covered this. It's a flat earth, right? Look at your super serious face, Tyson. Let's get a good old close-up of that for the thumbnail. Yeah, it's in reference to a flat earth.
Well, they always say sea level.
Exactly, height above sea level.
That'll be a flat earth right there. Wrap it up, boys. We're done. No, obviously we're going to continue.
Okay. Well,
Right.
How high is sea level?
Okay.
Have you thought about that?
I got to tell you the truth.
Quick, reference it to the center of a sphere Earth.
I'm going to be honest, and I'm really ashamed of this right now. I have never thought about that once in my life. Like, okay, and it's 15 feet above sea level. Yeah, well, how high is sea level?
Yeah, well, it's because you've missed off a term in the colloquial use. You'd say mean sea level, wouldn't you? Which is an average.
Well, what are you writing a book? You smart ass, shut up. It's 15 feet above sea level.
How high is sea level? It's
How
an important
high is
question.
sea level?
Okay.
How high is level? So we're going to say all of it. And how high is all of it? Yeah. This is definitely a description of a flat earth, though, isn't it? This is a description of a plane. Because how high is stuff that's only at one elevation at one point on a ball is different everywhere, is the answer. There is no level ever on a ball. Full stop. End of argument.
Well, they're trying to invoke a secondary reference frame from which they can measure sea level, like to the center of Earth. That's exactly what this is.
But
It's nonsense.
But sea level is quite specifically defined as not being with reference to the centre of Earth. If QE was here, he'd dig out the citation, but I haven't got it to hand. But it's not with reference to the centre of Earth. It's with reference to a Cartesian plane, a grid system that is not curving at 8 inches per mile squared, but flat in nature.
Wouldn't you need an R value for this?
He hasn't got there yet. You're being a bit premature.
No land came above the ocean level. Okay.
Level. We're all clear then. Level then.
Okay.
And the whole Earth were just sea level.
Why did you do a little curvy gesture when saying level? Yeah, was that your little sleight of hand magic trick to make the audience see you curve your hands round while saying level? Like no part being higher or lower than the other, and then you start at the top and curve your hands down? That wasn't level, Tyson. I mean, maybe it was just you with a bit of arthritis. Let's just put it down to that for now, yeah?
Because Earth is not a perfect sphere?
Hold on, how have we now talking about whether or not we're perfectly not level, having bits fall away at 8 inches per mile squared in all directions, when you've just described things that are level?
Magic trick. He's already got people on the begging the question sphere that needs an R value that doesn't exist.
Right, and the way he did it was invoking that secondary reference frame where you can look at it from the perspective of God. When he curved his hands, most people seen the Earth curve calculator.
Mm-hmm.
The parts of the sea that's at the equator will be.
That's an interesting word. What's the equator? Sounds like a minimum elevation angle to Polaris and the midpoint of the sun's trajectory through the seasons. These values that have all been derived from flat planes also. Equator, you say? That's an interesting term you use. What's that? You presuppose that it's the outside edge of a sphere based on a derivation of the celestial movements as described by me a moment ago when measured off a flat plane? Yeah, definitely not.
Farther away from Earth's center than.
Oh, really? No, sea level is not measured to the center of Earth. Nothing can be measured to the center of a presupposed spherical Earth. You don't even have a measurement for your presupposed spherical Earth. We've debunked all of them as using flat planes to derive the R value from. So you haven't got a center of a presupposed spherical Earth to get a level. Nothing moving towards the center of the radial value of any sphere ever is level. It's an absolute married bachelor. It's a contradiction in terms. This is absurd.
The parts of the sea that are at the poles. So sea level is not an equidistant thing from the center of the Earth.
No, it's an average because it moves up and down. But ultimately, it's a level description and not a spherical one. There's nothing level on a sphere ever.
All right.
Well, this is where the contradiction will get expressed, right? Because they need eye level to be a flat plane to take measurements, right? And eye level must be parallel to sea level because level is used. And then he's going to tell you it's curving, so then he has a curved adjacent in which he can't get an angle from. But he'll not address that.
So it's like the globe map, right? Level plus level equals curve. Like
yes.
2 plus 2 equals 5. That's awesome.
No, that's absolutely spot on. Level plus level equals curved. Differential between the two levels can be calculated to extrapolate out an R-based tangent point below surface level. So for the globe Earth maths to work, you need two principles that both use level, horizontal, a straight line when depicted in Muppet vision. That's an orthographic view. So you see Earth curve maths, it will have, because it's part and parcel of the geometry, surface level and eye level. So when fundies who we oppose say, well, level means curving. No, it's a geometric principle used in your maths to give you tangency when deriving the difference between surface level and eye level. Well, you still need level to be level. And you need it for the maths to derive all of these celestial movements into equator values or equatorial plane values, all using flat Earth. No exceptions.
Are we okay with that?
So far, that makes sense.
What, that he told you our level, sea level was? You said you didn't have a clue about it. He says it's how far things are or not how things are from the center of a sphere Earth. Because so far he's telling you that it couldn't be equidistant from the center of a sphere Earth. So this is what sea level isn't. And you're nodding saying that makes sense. So to Chuck, what sea level isn't makes sense when disseminated to him by Tyson. Well done, Chuck.
Can you
Notice
handle the
how
truth
Tyson-
here? Okay. So,
No, hang on. Notice how Tyson said, are we okay with that? Like, no, we're not okay with that. We just demolished it. What are you talking about?
so
Well, he demolished
Earth-
it.
He just contradicted himself. Level, 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 level. How far from the center of a ball? Something that never has level. That makes no sense.
Is slightly flattened at the poles and slightly fatter at the equator.
What, your ball Earth? No, we don't have a ball Earth.
Little chubby, pear-shaped.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in another clip, he's described as saying, in spite of it being chubbier at the bottom in his description, if you were to run your hands over it at the scale of a bowling ball, it would be perfectly spherical. Now, meanwhile, he hasn't got an R value to derive, and when you describe how level things are, it's not how, as his hands showed, them falling away from an orthographic representation of a ball from space. That isn't level. Anyway,
Nathan,
I've got it.
I got a slide for you, Master D.
So here we are with the ball, with how far we are from the center of Earth, as depicted here, with a radial value marked to the top of two parallel lines. One that says, let's just scale this a bit better on screen. Sorry, bear with me. Parallel to actual horizon and actual horizon. Well, it may be labeled slightly differently to how it's described in the Earth curve maths with sea level or surface level and eye level. Well, eye level is parallel to actual horizon, this line, from eye out horizontally. And this dotted line would be surface level. Okay, what's this line? Tangent to a sphere. Oh, well, it's the derivative of the two, the differential between those two parallel level surfaces, because it's an axiom used in this geometry to assert this radial value and this sphere. Level is level always. What's that? Level means bending. No, it doesn't. You couldn't employ this geometric principle to assert that you've got a second horizon that only exists in the maths, that nobody's ever going to see, as a consequence of a differential between surface level and eye level. This is how Earth curve maths works. To convince the general populace that we have a non-existent Earth curve edge horizon that exists below surface level. Isn't it nuts? Subscribe today,
Nathan.
Flat Earth Debate on the cutting edge of disseminating the globe Earth lie and how Earth is measured flat. Thank you for the diagram, 10th. Please share the show.
Yeah.
75 people watching. It should be 75,000.
It will be one day. That dotted line, actual horizon, we didn't label that, right? They labeled that. If the height of I is at 0 minutes, 0 seconds. What does that mean? Rubber ducky time. Put your eyeball on the water. It's the same horizontal as the eye line horizontal that John expressed earlier with a bubble sextant. Or a plumb bob, which would give you a perpendicular horizontal that you would need automatically. So two flat planes on top of a sphere that doesn't exist, and then a depression angle from the height of I to the geometric horizon that can never be seen. That thing and the dingleberry are surplus to requirement.
So if you measure the diameter of Earth at the equator,
At Amazon.
How are you going to do that? Given that the equator is a derivative value from celestial movements off a flat plane. But what if we now presuppose that we're standing on the outside edge of a ball and then you measure the circumferential value? No, we're never going to be able to do that in physical terms, because the thought experiment of a sphere ultimately comes from flat Earth elevation angle measurements and celestial movements to give you things like the equator. It's not the outside edge of a sphere, in other words, no matter how much you want to presuppose it.
Why
it
are
is
they always trying to put us on a
several
ball?
thousand miles wider than the distance from the North Pole to the South Pole.
Total nonsense.
Here
Okay.
you need
Got
to
that?
read the. Hang
Go on.
hang on. You need to read one of the screenshots where he corrects what he just said. Several thousand miles. He made a mistake there, so it's just put it on the screen so we can give him credit for fixing that mistake, but not all the mistakes.
All right.
Okay. Not only that, Earth is slightly wider below the equator than at the equator.
These are all extraordinary claims Earth as a sphere, Earth with a bulging equator, Earth with a different circumferential value from north to south versus east to west. All of these extraordinary claims are actually baseless assertions. He's not backing any of this.
Now we a little Bonita Applebottom. We went a little pear-shaped.
We are pear-shaped. We are
Because of what? So far, this is about sea level. Yeah? And how high mountains are off a level plane that would never achieve you a height if it was curving away because you could never triangulate its height. Meanwhile, we have sea level to do it with. That's what's being discussed. And this somehow is inference for what? Earth having a different circumferential value when spherical and not being able to give you the Cartesian grid to give a height? This is so non sequitur. It's off the charts. And it's just a string of baseless assertions.
pear-shaped. Okay. What that means
agree
is
that it's sorry. I was saying I agree that it's so batshit crazy that he can sit there with some sort of authority and tell people that the world we live in is pear-shaped. Meanwhile, what do they show us all the time? A perfect sphere.
Yeah.
But yet the people that
That's
believe this will defend that all day long.
Yep. But the scale
that's exactly
that
what
they
I was
would
gonna
use
say.
for that, it would be like using a level, right? The microscopic undulations of water within that level is not going to affect your perception of level. Just like the scale he's talking about wouldn't be measurable from a picture.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Just based on his
So
title, oh, the world-renowned astrophysicist
Oh, hang on a second.
is,
Hold
you know,
on.
whatever he
This is
says.
big news. Is this an actual picture of Earth from space? Why didn't this get
It said
presented earlier?
NASA.
Time to
It
pack
said
up, lads.
NASA, so I just put it there.
It's time to pack up, lads. I mean, what are we even wasting our time for? Look, there's Earth in space with Australia. Isn't it amazing? I just got one question, whoever posted this. See these clouds, right? These are formed by the gas vapor going through a phase change. So in other words, where this white bit, you see how this top bit's got a white edge to it? That essentially is very, very, very high pressure gas right next to this black bit, which is a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, with absolutely nothing in between the high pressure gas and the more powerful than any 6 foot thick wall chambered vacuum we've created on Earth. More powerful vacuum than that, right next to fluffy white clouds, without them vacating into the area of volume in line with entropic law and gas law. So besides that second law of thermodynamics violation problem that this picture presents with a gas at high pressure next to a area of volume that it could fill but isn't violating the second law of thermodynamics, I think we should pack up our bags and go home because this is obviously a picture from space of Earth.
They're claiming that's a place that exists you can take a picture from. Huh?
No, your timing was terrible. I just put a picture of it being a pair up when you were saying that, so that was terrible timing on your part, but you didn't know that I just pressed that button. But why not? I mean, this could also be Earth from space in the shape of a pear with a little stalk that's come from a tree. Beautiful.
It could be from a place that violates natural law.
Well, I can make the same example with this. You've got white fluffy clouds at high pressure, denoting all of the gas that must be in this area. And then that high pressure gas is right next to this 10 to the minus torr. Let's do it over here. Into the 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum next to the stalk. Know what I mean?
I will
No,
say
that's
this
crazy.
again. Neil deGrasse Tyson is what is known as a token appointed, crossing the barriers. All he would have to be is female, and he has crossed all the barriers of tokenism. No one can
I think
say
that
this is a so-called white man saying this. It grabs all barriers of demographics Now, if he was a female, all you need is have a female, like a Kamala Harris type of person saying the same fallacious, ridiculous rhetoric, and it would be even more profound, and it would spread abroad and be such a a sacred belief. I mean,
Hold on a
this is
second.
dangerous.
Hold on.
He's dangerous, bro.
The word
He's
token,
dangerous.
to me, when used as a racist slur, is the guy in the B movie horror flick with the slasher movie, right? Where the black character in a room full of white characters is definitely going to be the first guy to die, and therefore got
Right.
labelled the token black man or token black character because he's there to, diversify the cast, but ultimately he's going to get killed first. That's a token black. Now, South Park literally named one of their characters, a little black boy, Token. And his surname
out to
was
Token.
Black. So he was from the Black family, a little black boy called Token Black. Right? That's what I take token to mean. And you said it and then contextualize it with the whites around him, right? But he, in his profession, he's the pinnacle, man. This is the high priest. How can you call him Token in any
Well,
respect?
I don't mean it. I don't.
He's not.
Well, he's going to be sacrificed pretty soon, because the more we continue to expose him as a fool or a charlatan liar, he will be silenced or put aside. Right now, it's unprecedented that anybody of his demographic in this argument of heliocentrism has ever existed. So just look at it that way. So
But
basically, they
No,
covered all the tracks.
no.
All you need is a female
You-
now, and then
but
they'll be
he's
like,
already
"Oh,
being thrown to the wolves.
Hold on,
right, I
I've
know.
got a strong
I know what you
objection
mean.
from
Yeah,
John.
yeah.
I'm just going to shout out a super chat, and then you've got a strong objection to deal with from John D. Rose. Hillside says gravity holds the gases down. Yeah, gases aren't going down; they've created a ground level and they're expanding up, out. So that's why there's gases on the top of Everest. There's very little vegetation creating gases right on the peak. Why is the gas there? Well, because it's expanded up from ground level to fill the variability of volume that it has in line with entropic law. It's expanded up. So no, gravity isn't holding gas go down, go boom, boom. It isn't going down, go boom, boom. But I like the sentiment and the sarcasm, Hillside. I appreciate that you've sent many a super chat. But thank you for the super chat. Right, John, what's your objection? You're going to have to summarise D. Rose's point. Please, let's just let him summarise your point, D. Rose. Go ahead, John.
Well, the notion that he's a token black guy and sacrificable. Well, he is none of those things. He is expressing the general understanding and views of an area of secular study. If they were to do what you're implying, everyone in those fields would be enraged.
I don't follow the
Can you
last bit.
put that-
Hold on. Just
Yeah.
let me just get clarity on the last bit. What would the people in his field get enraged about? I didn't follow that.
If they were to say that everything he said was a lie, right? If someone took the stance that Neil deGrasse Tyson is a liar and he will be removed from television, everyone in those fields of study, they're not science, but they are fields of study, even if they study Narnia, right? They would be enraged by
Yeah,
that
and it would-
claim.
I
that's
gotcha.
wrong.
And it would have nothing to do with his race either. If he is an astrophysicist, forget the colour of his skin, just as an astrophysicist was thrown under the bus, his professional field around him, his colleagues, would be outraged. I agree. But yeah, I don't think it's anything to do with him being black, D. Rose.
No. I don't want that to be misconstrued. I'm not saying the reason why he would be removed, silenced, or gradually fade out and someone would replace him. I'm saying the point of meeting the demographic. The demographic has always been, Darwin, all these guys were considered so-called white men that were dictating the philosophy or the study or the ology, whatever it is, of what they were asserting. Now they got him, whom we talked about this before, whom grabs a demographic that neither here nor there or
Oh, hold
probably
on.
was
I've
on
got
one
to get
side.
context. Who's they? You're talking about the black community at this point,
Yes,
presumably.
yes,
Okay, go ahead.
yes. People who are considered so-called black. It's a prestige. It's like it's proud. I recall it because I remember having a conversation way before internet was in. And when he came into the picture, oh man, that is so cool, man. He represent, man, we are moving up, yada, yada, yada. He's like the top astrophysicist, man. It's a time we could, so basically that grabbed that audience. Then the audience of the people who didn't care whether it was flat or curved, the people that thought it was curved, now they have someone who you can't say, who can defend him and say, well, you just saying he's wrong because he's a brother. A brother get all the time before he was all on board, but now a brother's saying you're against it. So basically, the heliocentric and the powers to be, the mainstream, have grabbed their demographic. So there can't be any incentive for people to disagree with him. Everybody should be on board. And I was saying, being
Okay.
sarcastic, if they had a female,
Maybe.
if they had a female,
No,
then it would
don't
really
compare it to
cover
women.
all
Let's
the
just
demographics.
stick with that.
Okay, gotcha.
You're on a roll. Just
Gotcha.
stick with that. Just stick with that. Okay, because I'm with you. What you're
Right.
saying is, because he's black, he will potentially grab more empathy from the audience by being that black minority astrophysicist. So therefore,
Bingo.
that does work to his favor. Is that what you're saying?
Bingo.
Well, maybe. I don't know if it does. Maybe.
Nathan,
Trust
can
me.
you,
Yeah, but that's
Trust me.
nothing to
Trust
do
me,
know
it
a lot
does.
of black people who have no idea who he
He's
is.
he's the Jackie Robinson of heliocentrism. Okay? You understand it, right?
Let me just do a quick
Chocolate,
shout out.
Eli,
Somebody,
they notice.
I think
He
somebody,
is the Jackie Robinson of it.
I
Okay.
think somebody wrote a super chat and then they've written a word that the algorithm didn't like. So big shout out to James Williams for the super chat. Unfortunately, whatever you typed didn't make it, but it looks like, oh, you just gave me money and a ton of it. So thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate it.
Nathan, can you put the two pictures, the globe, the spherical globe one and the pear globe one? Okay, so I see the
Yeah.
spherical shape. Go to the pear one.
Yeah.
Okay, so based on these two, I think it's pretty apparent which ones of the earth we live on, right?
Apparent.
I mean, it's right there.
You got me to do just for the pun.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right, let's
It's
go.
apparent. It's
Apparently.
To be fair, right, we have done a little bit of talk on relationship stuff just because that's the crap I'm watching at the moment. So, as you've tried to get it in, D-Rose, comparing his blackness to women, this massive glaring stereotype fallacy I am going to allow just for the fun of it. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, same thing with presidency, government. It's always about grabbing a demographic to spread the vote. The reason why Biden got more votes, or if he so did, is because he got Kamala on board. Okay, there's a strategy to get the populace to side with you, or to retract, or to digress on their criticisms or their dislike for you once you appeal and appease to a certain audience. This guy is the Jackie Robinson of the whole globe heliocentric new world order. He stands on a position as the hierarchy, high priest, heliocentric proponent. And you have to walk on eggshells sometimes, depending on who you are, when it comes to criticizing him. The ones
So
that
therefore, he's
preceded
not
him.
token. He's actually very important.
Got you. So I used the wrong term, but that, it's just a term that they, it's
tool.
misused.
What you're saying is you're saying tool rather than he's not a token black.
Quota?
He's a
How
black
about
man
quota?
being used as a tool, is what you're saying.
There you go. Right.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, this it doesn't have to appeal. It's a pear. You can eat it with the skin on. It's not like an orange.
Are you mocking me? Are you mocking me because I'm your Chuck?
Okay, are we all done with the puns?
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Neil deGrasse has Chuck. You have me, and I pun. I mean, come on, we're a team. Get on.
If you're a mountain
Okay.
near the
Sorry, I just want to start that again, just because it sounds really bad contextually.
We went a little pear-shaped.
we are pear-shaped. We are pear-shaped. Okay. What that means is if you're a mountain
Okay.
near the equator.
Oh, he literally is contextualizing this as though you are the mountain. Okay.
you get a few extra 1,000 miles head start if you're in the competition for the tip of the mountain being farthest from Earth's center.
No, but you weren't asking how far each mountain was from the center of a presupposed spherical Earth. The question is, and it's even in the title, why is Everest why Everest isn't the tallest mountain? Oh, I see. Should have read the title out when I said get him to be aware that Nathan Oakley 1980 sent you by commenting. Well, why Everest isn't the tallest mountain is a segue into why it's not the furthest from the center of Earth when presupposed as a sphere, when in reality it's like, what's its height? How do you measure it? And how do you make the assertion that that height is inferred to be further away from the center of a sphere Earth when juxtaposing sea level with the distance from the center of a sphere Earth, you presuppose?
Aha, I got you.
You get it several thousand. Okay. So ask me, what is the highest mountain from Earth's center?
What is the highest mountain?
Why? Why repackage the question so that you can answer it in a hypothetical sphere Earth with measurements from a flat Earth? Why do this?
From Earth's center.
It is not Mount Everest. Itself is the 10th highest summit from Earth's center. 10th.
The Globe Earth rhetoric annoys me for just this very reason. What's the highest mountain? Everest. No, it's not, because we're on a ball, and height is determined from the center of the... No, it isn't. It's with reference to sea level.
I feel just as annoyed. That's exactly how I feel right now. Can't stand this smoke in the grass, Tyson.
But he does want you to engage in that argument, right? Because it is so nonsensical. It's a way of drawing you in. Because if you're arguing something as nonsensical as that, you're presupposing that the Earth's a sphere. It's more forcing the indoctrination.
I'm still trying to get over. He's just very comfortable calling the Earth freaking pear when he shows us a sphere. Like, when you're describing a shape, aren't you describing something that you've observed? Wouldn't that be where you got the shape from? So how are you describing a shape using the shape that you're not describing? How the hell does that work? Can't stand this dude.
Yeah, but the peak of his argument came when he said, if you are the mountain.
The highest mountain from center is somewhere in Africa.
Okay, so that's a good guess. It's wrong, but a really excellent guess. It's completely wrong, but it's a good guess. Okay?
All right. Okay. Go ahead.
Is he going to say something like Hawaii?
The top five peaks, distance from Earth's center, are all in South America.
Oh,
and the
in
number one
South
peak is, yes, Mount Chimborazo in Ecuador. And guess what the latitude is of Ecuador?
Latitude? That's a bit like equator. That's a funny old term. Latitude? Anybody care to tell me from the panel what latitude is?
I want to know what the latitude of Ecuador is.
Not what the latitude is.
It's
No. Hold on, John. Not what the latitude is. What latitude is. Go ahead, John.
It's an elevation angle measurement to Polaris so that you can determine your position on the ground using a flat plane.
No, it's the measurement that would drop with respect to the horizon 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles that you backed away from Polaris until it reached the horizon at the, quote, equator. So it's a flat Earth elevation angle measurement description. I see.
Yeah.
Funny old terminology that Tyson's using. Sorry, John. Didn't realize you'd finished. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, it requires a flat plane because it's an angle measurement. You know, if you're going to say level is curving, then you have nothing to, you don't have eye level to base an angle on. It's over.
Zero, maybe?
What a coincidence.
Oh, wow.
So this mountain is 1 degree south of the equator.
Anybody want to tell him he needs a flat Earth that 1 degree?
In Ecuador. Okay. And then Peru has the next 2, and then Ecuador again, and then Peru, and then this.
Just a massive string of baseless assertions again. Because, as evidenced by, if we claim anything, the standard that we have to adhere to as flat earthers is absolutely off the scale. We have to define our terms, we have to be hyper-specific, we have to be overly cautious about the things that we're incorporating within our claim and the language used to disseminate it. We have to reach a standard that is beyond reasonable. He, Tyson, can just babble out a load of complete nonsense with absolutely zero to back this outrageous claim with no evidence. Just go baseless assertion after baseless assertion and then laugh about it as he just tells you what's what about your entire world.
6th highest summit from the center of the earth is indeed in Africa, and just name it correctly, even if you guess.
I don't know, Kilimanjaro.
Because, as evidenced by... No? Any of that? Is that going to come?
Kilimanjaro. There it is.
Yeah.
So South America has 8 of the top 10 peaks.
So Kilimanjaro is the highest peak in the world when you measure it from the center of a sphere, which we don't. And that's it. That's all I need to say. Baseless assertion will do.
Africa
But
has
Nathan,
this.
think about it. Nathan, think about it. When you've already been allowed to and got away with talking about what the temperature it is on Jupiter and Uranus and all of this stuff like that, is it really that absurd to a normie or a numpty or to a anti-flat earther when you hear him describing these assertions about the closest proximity of where we inhabit? That's why he can get away with this.
Yeah. People are so used to their high priests telling them what's what. We had this out on one of the after shows a couple of days ago, where I was using Neil as the example for what he wants that is unattainable in regards to people's cognitive processing skills. Having discernment isn't something you can instill in somebody after a certain age. I think it's impossible for a vast majority of the Western world populace. They just are beyond help in that regard. Sorry if you're one of them. If you find this offensive, it's tough luck. Some of you just can't do it. It's like Morpheus explaining to Neo that there are certain people that you just can't unplug. They are so hopelessly immersed in the system that it would be dangerous to unplug them. Right? Well, they're the people that need, nay, require Tyson to tell them what their world is. He is their priest. Now, if you point out to them that A, they're in a religion, B, this is one of their priests, people don't like it. People prefer to be in blissful ignorance of their religious beliefs. They certainly don't like to hear that they're religious beliefs, or that their priest is telling them what's what by way of baseless assertion. Fallacy after fallacy after fallacy. People just nod. They'll open their gormless mouths and go, "Really? Spoon feed me more nonsense. Yum, 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 yum. Thank you, Tyson."
You can
I can
usually
use the
tell.
fear
Hold
to
on. You
make
could.
some.
Sorry, John. Go ahead.
Yeah, John.
Oh, I was going to say, I can use the fear to make up some nonsense and get someone to agree with something completely stupid. Hey, check
Not
this
if
out.
you told them
The
you were a flat
furthest-
earther, you couldn't.
Right, no. But the furthest point from me on Earth is right behind me. Because if I move in an intrinsically straight line, the furthest point from myself is right beside myself.
That's actually
The-
true.
the
That's
guy to your head.
absolutely correct
Yes.
within a fourth dimensional bent geodesic. That's strictly true. You're not like, although it's an outrageous claim that John's just disseminated, if you gave your general normie who thinks he's got a good idea about how the world works a rough description of a bent geodesic in space-time alongside a dumbed-down explanation of what that means with what John just said, again, they would nod, wouldn't they, John? Nod
Absolutely.
yes.
Because they're not
John,
thinking about it.
John, does that mean if you step backwards, you've traveled the whole world?
We've heard similar
Yes.
claims. We've been
Obviously.
told specifically that if you had enough refraction at the right rate of R, you could see your own arse in a telescope. We've been told that
Yep.
by ball believers. Now, that's not a bent geodesic in space-time. That's something else, but it's equally absurd.
It's usually the moon. Those that still believe that the moon landing was legit, you're not reaching them. I don't care what you say.
Man, I've been told when you go to sleep and you dream, and in vivid dreams, you have astral projected to other dimensions. That's how hard it gets.
Sixth highest peak against Earth's center, and then Mount Everest coming in at 10th in
Right.
Asia.
And
You have in Nepal.
what's 8 and 9? Like 2-3-story buildings in Ecuador?
Yeah, just tell me. Just lie to me. Just give me nonsense.
No, they're real mountains, dude. Give them
Okay.
a break.
No,
here.
they're okay.
And
okay.
another thing about Chimborazo, it's the cone of a dormant volcano.
Oh,
So I think it has the highest ascent from its base of any mountain in the world, other than certain volcanic mountains that begin at the bottom of the ocean, such as the Big Island of Hawaii.
Knew that I'd get a mention. Anyway, I mean, like I say, there's nothing backing this. I mean, for me to get my teeth into part of his claim, there isn't anything, is there? There's literally just the baseless assertions he's making. Well, I mean, I've pointed them out 2 or 3 times, but this is going to get boring.
That's the single biggest mountain on Earth, but most of it is below sea level. Okay.
Aha.
So
The most of it, in terms of the depression angle that you would take, would be with respect to the horizontal line of the sea, otherwise known as sea level. So you'd be talking about the depression angle to the seabed surface from the sea level that we're using for reference when we have the mean average of it to reference things' heights. So even in your outro, you're describing something that's high off the surface of a sphere Earth, if you presume it's a pear that's chubbier at the bottom, and therefore a mountain that's in that area will be higher from the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. Yeah, again, all I can do is summarise the baseless assertions that he's parroting and rattling off without any evidence, because there's nothing else to get our teeth into here.
Chimborazo rises up quite impressively as a result of this. Whereas K1, K1 is like slightly higher than K2, and the entire Himalayan mountain range, it helps all the peaks out, right? So you don't see this major ascent from the base as you otherwise would.
Right.
So I'm just saying that's
meaningless nonsense with no backing in the form of evidence whatsoever.
That's what it looks like.
That's what it is when you just parrot out a load of crap that you haven't proved.
And at the top of that peak, you would weigh way less than at any other place on Earth.
No, you wouldn't. What the hell is he babbling about now? Etvos effect? Really? Is he going to scramble his way through Etvos effect in the next 60 seconds?
Not only because you're farthest from Earth's center, you are also near the equator, and the spinning Earth is trying to fling you off. So there's a centrifugal force as well.
No, there isn't.
Okay.
Right.
Uh-oh.
So good job we summarised this at the beginning of the show, eh? So why would we as flat earthers have to make a positive claim when it comes to some things go down, some things go up, some things remain neutral? Well, because the globe earthers have a positive assertion that there's a force that's going to fly you off that's being counteracted by gravity, leaving you at 0. Also known as 1g at the surface, because you're being pulled down by a bent geodesic in a 4th dimensional space-time that's not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Therefore, it's an emergent force that holds you to the spinning water ball, flying through the vacuum. Go on, John.
Oh yeah, like I think he forgot his own rhetoric. He knows that there's no such force. Why is he invoking it? That seems a little bit insincere.
No. In this example that he's disseminating, although reified into your physical reality, is the not actual force of the 4th dimensional space-time he knows that Einstein created 108 years ago when it superseded the mass-attracting mass force that he could be alluding to, but isn't, because he knows that he's thinking of it as a force, therefore it's the emergent force, John. Obviously.
Yeah, that's sketchy, isn't it?
So that is the lightest you could possibly weigh relative to if you were standing on the North Pole.
Well, I'm going there as soon as I can. Just told me my next place to live.
Just to lose some weight. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Listen, it was so much better than what I'm trying to do now. Yeah.
But if I just plunk you there, you'd have lost weight, but you would not have gotten any smaller.
Well, you can't have everything.
I mean, what is this? It's not even that funny. Gotta be honest, lads.
Because, you know, Weight Watchers is really mass watchers. Right? If you want to...
Really? Do you want to define what mass is for us so we can see whether or not people who go to reduce their overall BMI, body mass index, well, you're going to define what mass is for us then, aren't you?
Lose weight, you can just go to the top of a mountain or just go into space or go onto the moon. You'll lose weight there immediately. But
there you go. There's advice for all you fatties out there. Just go to the moon. Dead easy. Tyson told you.
But you'll still carry all the fat that you might have been trying to get.
Oh, bummer. There's always a catch, isn't there? You know, 1 minute you think you can solve your fat problem by going to the moon because Tyson says so. But then he says you're going to take it all with you. So shattering your illusions. Bastard.
Get rid of. So really, like I said, Weight Watchers is a mass watchers. You want to lose weight, you're really trying to lose mass. Just putting it out there. We got to go.
All right.
There you go.
That was very cool. Very cool.
Oh, I loved it. I say, I listened to your shite. I didn't question any of it. I was led beautifully. I laughed at all the right places. I talked crap when needed. I've done a good job. I'm very happy.
Chuck, my co-host in all these matters, especially the explainer ones. As always, keep looking up.
Yeah, jolly good.
You know, I don't want to be that what you call ad hominis guy, but I've noticed this from the time Flatsoy did a video and slowed it down and did the freeze frames like you're doing. But I have never seen a still freeze frame ever of Neil deGrasse Tyson ever where his scleras were not pink. I don't know. I'm not trying, I'm not trying to allude anywhere, but his scleras are never white. I don't know if it's allergies, alcohol, weed, even his slurred speech sometimes. Now, I know Chuck has admitted on stage, as he's done his little comment, that, he's a pothead backing down, off he still is, but Neil deGrasse, I can pretty much guarantee you, other than allergies or whatever it is, he has no other excuse for having pink scleras.
His name is Neil Smoking deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, but that's not a.
As the
That's
name
not
by
a.
me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's not said to be sarcastic. Come on.
What are you
If he
moaning
come
about?
into a
What are you
job
saying
interview
he's
with them
got?
eyes,
What are you saying? He looks like a stoner.
he looks like a stoner.
No, what?
1000%.
No offense, right? I don't care. If he had a massive heroin addiction, I couldn't give a crap. Like, literally, I don't care. Those sorts of things are just inconsequential to the discussion points he puts forward.
I know that. I know. I just had to say it.
I only do it because I only highlight it because it's something that we get. If Brian was here, he'd be backing me up right now and he'd be all over this. That's what they have to go with, right? That's what they lead with. Personal attacks, ad homs, appeal to somebody's personal life or whatever it is they can get their hands on, trying to get hold of your job, trying to get you fired. That's what they go to. We, like I said earlier, have to be hyper-specific. We have to focus on his argument. Yeah, it's okay to speculate a little bit about whether or not he's being used as an instrument as a black man in a community that's more maybe empathetic to a black man in that position, maybe not. That's interesting to an extent to, I don't know, shoot the breeze with, but ultimately all we're interested in is his dissemination of how, when considering Earth as a sphere, because you've taken flat Earth elevation angle measurements and derived all the concepts he describes with latitude and equators, then you can presuppose that the values are bigger at the bottom, therefore anything in South America is going to have a higher mountain peak when measured from the centre of a sphere Earth. Therefore, I can give you a top 10 of the highest mountains that if you look up any textbook on how high mountains are with respect to sea level, another concept he also disseminated, that that's not right. Isn't it amazing how knowing how spherical Earth is means that everything goes topsy-turvy and even the heights measured off a flat plane suddenly aren't right anymore? Isn't that nuts? Wow. Anyway, we've got no more time for you. By the way, you could lose fat if you went to the moon. We'll focus on all of that rather than his blackness or his fatness or his upbringing or how bloodshot his eyes are or how good his marriage is. Who cares?
Nathan, just because we saw
I agree.
doesn't mean he's a stoner.
Did you say I do? T-Rose, I do care. Is that what you just said?
No. So I said I agree. I agree.
Oh, you agree?
I just, and that's why my premise was, I know I shouldn't do this. I know, but it's just something that I noticed. Not that it makes relevant, because he could be a flat earther and have pink eyes, and that, that would be something not fair for them to attack. So I redact that, but I just wanted to bring it to the view that, is it just me, or why do I'm the only one that don't see him with? I'm in the eye field, and his eyes, his scleras are never white. That's all I'm saying.
But it's like what they do in politics, right? Who's this guy running for government? Quick, spin every word he's ever said publicly. Quick, dig up every bit of dirt you can on his past. Quick, make this person, this character, this individual look bad as an individual, as a character, as a person. Forget about the policies. Forget about what they've done. Forget about what they've achieved. Focus on whether or not he was sleeping with hookers 20 years ago. That's important stuff. Go dig, right? That's what we have to endure. Now, every person, doesn't matter who you are, you don't have to go to any biblical rhetoric to know that inherently everybody's got skeletons in their closet. There are no exceptions. If you think you're that guy without skeletons in your closet, stop kidding yourself, right? Nobody's different in that regard. Nobody's perfect. Right? There are no bad people, just lots of bad decisions that people make. And often they will usher those into a corner of their mind that they can easily forget about. And in many ways, this is very subject specific, because that is a benefit, as much as it's a weird spin to put on it, that the heliocentric model does offer you, the devout religious attendee at the Church of Heliocentrism. What does it offer? An ability to make that which may seem important when you bring it to the forefront of your mind because of your shitty behaviour less important. We are in an ever-expanding, super vast nothingness, and you, nay, the earth itself is merely a speck of dust flying around this infinite, ever-expanding, vast nothingness, with an occasional, very hot or very cold little rock flying around a little light that might be enormous, but in the scale of the big wide world that we find ourselves in, we are but insignificant specks of dust. And with that in mind, when you screwed over that old lady for her pension, it doesn't matter, lock it in a cupboard, who cares? It's not that important. You're not the scum of the earth scumbag that you might potentially realise you are if you dwelled on those skeletons. Right. Now, with that in mind, the person that comes along and starts disseminating how a wrong in society is being foisted upon a mass group of community members, they, the individual, highlighting this problem that causes ramifications for other high-ranking officials, might be easier to subdue if you attack the man. Because the general great and wash will go, so he's a bad person, saying there's a wrong going on in our community. Well, he's a bad person. Let's ignore everything he says because we're dumb. Now, that tactic is all we get. That's what we get as flat earthers. Oh, he's a flat earther. Look, he does this, he does that, he is this, she is that. That's all we ever get. Rather than, oh, he's a flat earther. How does he prove Earth is flat? How does she debunk Earth as a sphere? Let's have a listen to that. That's not what they do. Their first instinct is to spin doctor their way out of it by attacking the man. Wish Brian was here to follow up that little ramble beautifully. Brian, if you're out there.
That was eloquently said.
What other way is there to feel when you have people like Dr. Michelle Thaler tell you things like, there is no such thing as life, really. We're a bunch of chemical reactions that became complex enough to become sentient. I mean, that's very a very hopeful message, isn't it?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, seeing that rock, that's your ancestor.
Back in the day when you went out scrumping for cars and smashing windows and stealing the stereos, yeah, just block that idea back and you're just a rock. Who cares? Yeah, that's the attitude you can have. That's the benefit of heliocentrism. And I believe, as much as we don't like to speculate here, that much of the projected pain that we get from our opponents is as a consequence of them having to potentially face their own demons. If you realise the answer to the ontological primitives, this isn't really speculation, this is fact. You are then left with the dire circumstances of having to assess your own monsters. If you realise that there is an external entity that has created everything that you know, that is eye-opening to the point of fear and rebellion and, general childish behaviour that we see from our opponents when they have to face the reality that there are consequences to their actions.
Right. The carpet gets lifted, all that dust and dirt that's been gathering under there suddenly blows up, and you get to see and smell it all.
Right. And they see us as the people lifting at the carpet, which is easier. Chucking out the carpet and getting a new one, dusting out all the old crap and letting everybody see it fly out the windows, or shooting the guy pulling at the carpet in the back of the head quick sharp. Metaphorically, we're the guy pulling at the carpet, aren't we?
Right, and they're trying to glue it back.
Yeah, they're trying to glue that scrappy, fall into pieces carpet back in place quick sharp. Because everything else is on top of that carpet, and it will all have to move if we have to put this carpet out of commission. We don't want to do that, and you're ruining everything. It's a lot of work to put another one back in place. And to be perfectly honest, we haven't even got a new carpet to replace it with. So we want this old carpet's got to stay. Stop pulling it up. You're making a mess. That's what we are, basically, to the establishment and to your average Joe Normie who just hears us on a cursory listen. No, they're just messing everything up. Therefore, ridicule them. Hence, we are like the gingers of the community. Maybe that doesn't make sense worldwide. In Britain, gingers are like flat earthers. You're allowed to take the mickey out of them. It's just socially acceptable here. Ginger! Nobody will bat an eye. That's normal here.
I think that's everywhere, by the way.
I don't know if it is universal. It might not be. Certain countries don't have gingers, do they?
Well, there's
over here you would say
there's not a lot of ginger-only countries that I know of.
Maybe there are some ginger-only countries. I mean, we've got Scotland up the road from us, but I'm just saying there are countries that don't have any gingers. Those lucky, lucky, lucky countries.
Over here you would just say you're getting treated like a redheaded stepchild.
There you go, exactly. Milkman's daughter and all that. Anyway.
Absolutely nothing against gingers. I find a lot of ginger women very attractive.
That's nice. Thank you. No need to simp for the gingers, Arwin. I'm sure you'll find love eventually.
Aaron, I concur. I found quite a few. I met one in Ireland airport back in my day in the military. Yep.
Okay. Right, we're going to pretend that this is the end of the live show. Like yesterday, I'm just going to basically be stress testing this computer to make sure, although it's not as hot as yesterday. But things have been turned down, and I want to see that it won't fall over in future live shows if I happen to stress it with other software. So pretend that this is moving to the after show, and if you're a mod in Discord, please can you move everyone to the after show, and just pretend we've done an outro. But with that, I'm going to say, in case we do have a computer crash, a massive, enormous, huge thank you to both Discord and Cheapers Panels for making today's live show possible. Stay tuned if you're watching live or on an after show, because there will be an after show to follow for both of you. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you for tuning in, liking, commenting, smashing the super chat, and all that good stuff. Dun, 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 dun. So yeah, good show. 10th always comes up with the good videos.
Hey, back to Tyson. Was he implying that water bends or curves by saying what he was saying?
It's just saying that the world falls away from you when level. You know, his only magic trick in that one was to move his hands in a curved gesture in the peripheral vision of the camera from left to right and right to left, whatever you want to call it, while saying level. So level to him is curved.
Yep. He's just working with the presuppositional world where everything is assumed to be a sphere. So if you're measuring it flat, it's still a sphere.
What about yesterday's video where the bicyclist had to go to a place in Saskatchewan to find 87 miles of pure flat in order to do 2 sundials? Was it falling away there? 5,000 feet of bulge? Where did that go?
But you don't get to
Exactly.
see the bulge. You only get to see the angle of the sun change because you moved over a sphere. According to
No,
him.
he said that was all flat on the sphere. So 87 miles all flat on the sphere.
Yes.
And, yes, because if you do the radius that they claim the sphere has, that's 5,000 feet of bulge that wasn't there.
Well, when he says flat, he actually means almost flat in what is it in geometric composure of the sphericity. So it is actually spherical.
Hold on.
He had a level. He had a level on each one of those sundials. A level.
Yeah, that's spherical too.
The unique thing about a sphere is there are no flat surfaces on a sphere.
That's correct. And that's why they just call it flat, because it just happens to be measured flat and all that. But it is spherical.
If there are no flat surfaces,
they don't have a
sphere,
word for that. That isn't flat, right? So they're just using the old flat vernacular based on the actual site and measurement, and then they're just adapting it to the globe model, in which there are no straight lines, right? But they don't really have words for that, so they're just going to use the flat vernacular because it's easier.
In the Black Swan, the horizon distance is well beyond 9.41 miles. So at 10 miles, Earth's radius would be 263,000 mile radius. This was 87 miles of flat. What's the Earth's radius now, Mr. Bicycle Rider?
Still the same. You know it's a sphere because it's measured flat. Right? Doesn't matter. The sun angle changes, so that means it's a sphere, even if you moved in a dead straight line. Doesn't matter. I mean, this is not news, guys. Hello?
Let me translate for. Let me just translate.
Now I know why. Now I know why you like ginger people.
Why?
Like your globe, they're in ginger.
Man, we've lost your satellite.
Oh no, we need the 10th man back. And I'm tired of them using the word flat. Well, actually, I'm glad they used the word flat. Keep going.
Well, just like I said, allow me to interpret, so they could be more coherent for all the listeners what Aaron just explained.
I'm glad I stayed live for this.
Hello?
Hey, Arwen. You going to save
What's
us from
going
this
on?
dead silence?
Yeah, it was my connection got lost or something. Really weird. Where?
So did mine.
Yeah, like there was this weird spaz out with the connection somehow. Anything on your end, Nathan?
No, it all seems fine.
Huh.
Anyway, I think it's a perfect excuse to have lots of dead air. That's always good.
We were talking about
I've learned a lot.
how
I've
you
learned a
know
lot.
it's a sphere because it's measured flat.
I've learned a lot today. Curve means flat, and flat means curve.
No, not really. Curve doesn't really mean flat. Flat doesn't really mean curve. But when you're talking about flat, when you're talking about globe cosmology, well, there is no flat lines. It's just more convenient to explain it like that because then the actual measurements fit. That's all. So you measure the flat, you think of it as spherical, but you still address it as flat, and then it all works.
That was a good outro you did, Nathan, on heliocentrism.
What about it?
Well, it's the whole thing. They can ease their conscience because they don't think they have to give an account for their actions, as scummy as some people live. If you're like, oh, when I die, there's nothing. And heliocentrism is made for them.
Right. They even have a term for it in Scientology. Do you know what they call it in Scientology? Dropping the body.
Ginger.
Drop the body, they say.
Gingers.
No, Scientologists.
What? Yeah, and gingers do actually have souls.
I seen a definition for it the other day. I looked it up because I didn't know, other than the obvious, superficial thing. But it said they're soul suckers.
No, they're not.
I'm just saying that's what the definition said.
Of a ginger?
Gingers they're random soul suckers. That's what it
Daywalkers.
says.
Where the
You're
hell
thinking
did you
of
read that,
daywalker.
Doc? That's
thinking
not
of
in the
daywalker.
dictionary.
I think that's ginger beer you're thinking of.
Yeah, that sucks.
Did Nathan say they're daywalkers?
Yeah, daywalker.
Well, they're not very good at it because they get burnt really easily by the sun. So they're not much of a daywalker, rather the opposite. But I mean, I get it. I've known gingers and
Oh, brother.
some of them are really awesome and they have a soul, and others kind of suck and they're weird. And when you let them, they basically go suck off you like a vampire, of your energy, and like want your attention continually. So, yeah. But I mean, that's not all of them. Definitely not.
So you're not stereotyping the gingers, is what you're saying.
No, only like half of them. The other half is great.
What if you're like strawberry blonde?
Oh, half gingers. Oh, yeah. My mother was kind of half ginger. So,
Half ginger.
yeah, that's the thing. It's like semi-freckled, not fully freckled, but a little freckled. That's half ginger.
Shit, man. So it has to do with freckles.
Yes, freckled and red hair. And when you're half ginger, you have reddish hair, but not full on red. And you have a couple of freckles. You're not covered with them, and you don't burn as easily.
So you have to have freckles on your face. What if you have a few on your arm, a couple on your back? You still a ginger?
Well, yeah, or you could be half ginger. There's a lot of that going around. I mean, like most Irish are like half gingers.
Is Brian a ginger?
No, so then that means Brian's arguments half suck and half are good then.
If they're ginger, that means they're red herring.
Yes. Sounds like a Welsh fish slapping contest. But no, gingers are great. I like them. I find them really reliable. And there's like this unique trait from gingers that on average of all the types, gingers tend to be much more loyal in group formation.
Gotta go gingerly. My back hurts. We'll catch you on Monday.
See you later. Have a good weekend.
Good weekend. Right. And hey, Jesus was also a ginger, although of
Oh,
course,
brother.
That's not true. You can't validate that.
everybody disagrees and disagrees
validate
in
it,
a
not
different
just-
way.
I
Of
didn't
course.
disagree. I think it's widely known that Jesus was a ginger.
Well, I
thought
think
Jesus
that
was from
because
Brooklyn.
Jesus was ginger, that's the reason why they just allow gingers to be bullied.
Exactly. It's not explicitly stated, but it's very, at the very least, implied throughout the Bible. Is this sacrilegious?
Really?
No, it isn't.
Can you validate your claim that Jesus is ginger?
You being serious with that? Joe. Joe. Both of you.
Both of what?
Joe. No, demonstrate. You know what baseless assertions are?
It's over there.
Jeez.
He said it's over there.
So come on, you guys got to wake me up. I wake up, I get on here so you guys can wake me up, and what do I get? Gingers. Come on.
Yeah. Well, that gets stuffed.
Well, it's Freaky Friday. Aren't we supposed to be fighting or something? I don't know.
Hey, Kiwi, you didn't hear the video? The Tyson video?
Nah, I slept.
Yeah.
I slept in. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wait a second, D.
Wow, so you come in late and then you complain about being bored after
Hold
you
on.
the entire event.
Hold on, let me solve this. Huey, for years when I was listening, before I came on, you would come in and the show would intensify and get even more interesting. What the hell are we getting now? You gotta
Ginger.
think of the people that no, because you're here. Now think of people that were like me 4 or 5 years ago, hanging on every word. So come up with something is what I'm saying.
Because
Yeah,
back in the
nothing.
day when QE would come in, we would be in the middle of a discussion where somebody's trying to tell us the hypothesis for a shoe is that it's
True.
a shoe.
That's true. You're right. You're right.
That doesn't happen too much now. Now we get, oh, it's just flat. So
And Jesus is ginger.
that's between you and Arwen.
Step right out of that.
I could say more, but I don't want to. I'll leave that to Adam when he's actually here.
Yeah, I know. You and Adam got the secret truth. You and him together. He's got the secret hidden knowledge. Forget about scripture,
It's
right?
not secret and it's not hidden.
Here we go. Here we go.
I know, Owen.
It's just out chanted. That's all.
No, you don't know the same Jesus. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know the fictional construct. That's illogical. That's right.
Your Jesus never walked on water, never was crucified, and never rose from the dead. So that's not the Jesus of the Bible.
Yeah, no, I follow the Jesus from which those words came.
And you're not following the same Jesus because from which those words came the crucifixion and the resurrection. So you can't separate them. So I believe his words, but not his deeds. Yeah, but then it's a different Jesus. It's not the Jesus of the Bible.
Well, I don't follow that Jesus construct that's determined by hermeneutics from people over 1,000 years after his death to determine what he was supposed to be. Yeah, that's right. I just follow the words that he actually left behind.
I'm sorry. Did you say hermeneutics?
Yeah, hermeneutics or hermeneutics, if you want to not pronounce it correctly.
Not
You don't
pronounce
know
it.
what hermeneutics is, Owens. That's the problem. And it's a shame.
Yeah, sure. I don't know what it is. Yes, of course I don't.
This isn't gonna end well.
Round
I got,
one, fight.
I got this feeling.
Hey, I don't want to. Come off like Well, I
Yes,
am a
you do.
rookie. I still consider myself. I consider myself a rookie. I'm not a sophomore yet, like you guys, juniors and seniors. But could you give me the mathematical breakdown of this heliocentric R value again, and 1.22 and all that, and how that mathematics pretty much sets them up for putting their own foot in their mouths with the R value, 7/6 and all that. Just to change the subject and just to reify, brush up on
It's too
all
early.
your
I don't even
arguments.
understand your question.
Okay. Anybody else understand my question, or did I articulate it retardedly? I was saying, can somebody break down the maths on that again? 7/6, 3959, which means 6 feet from the observer's height. Yada yada yada. Please. Not you, Kiwi, because you just woke up. I know 10th would have jumped right in there. Is this mic on?
And with that,
I can't hear anybody.
Because no one's talking, Neil.
Oh,
I thought I
my,
just
my
asked.
internet died.
I thought I just asked a legitimate question, and everybody just brushed me off.
Like I
why
said,
is
I
he
didn't hear
asking?
anything. So ask it again.
Oh, I was just saying to somebody just to fill in the dead space and just to reify my knowledge so I can brush up on my articulation of the argument, the rebuttal arguments. Could somebody break down the mathematics that they claim regarding the R value 3959 relative to the 6 foot of observer's height, yada yada, which means 1.2, just break that down again and the 7/6 and all that, please. There's the silence again.
It's just a derivative value of R. What do you want to know?
Say it again.
A derivative of R that's straightening out.
He wants to hear the whole thing. He wants to hear the whole.
Just to fill in the dead space, of silence, and just to have a conversation. And it also helped me kind of just, so I like to hear things reiterated to me, so I can be like, okay, cool.
Is it modus tollens? Is that what it's called? The whole thing is the modus tollens or modus tollens. I get them all confused. Which one is the black swan?
Modus tollens.
Tollens with a T.
The T.
Got it.
I got a little can to kick around on that, D Rose.
Who's that?
It's me, Ginger Boy. Anyway, just a little can to kick around, like I say. So, Earth is a plane, yet still conform to 1.22, right? So, why do we see that way? It's a plane, why do we see that? Height and vision limitations. So, the globe tells you a story as to why you see the 1.22 formula. But they attribute it to an edge. We know there's not one. Yet 1.22 still remains in vision perspective. Two different things.
Yeah, they hijacked it.
Yeah, they try to wrap it into one. Without the globe, you still see that. Okay? They're trying to merge the two to explain an edge. No edge has ever been seen. There's no edge ever been seen by any eyeballs. Never. Ever. No edge of anything, of any shape. So, what we do notice is things going out of vision. As we rise in height, we see more. Right? I mean, that was there before globe rhetoric. Just the nature of vision has always been there because of eyes. So that phenomenon has been around before globe rhetoric. I mean, we had to make sense of what we see. That's been done for a long time. You see what I'm saying? There's a division between the 1.22 that we'll all see. Things disappear to a vanishing point. It doesn't require a globe. That's my point. So, D Rose, you were trying to. They're mutually exclusive, except the globe will bundle them. One doesn't necessarily pertain to the other. Am I making sense?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Why do we see more when we rise up in elevation?
Why do we see more? Well, Neil, I mean,
Because the angle of incident basically widens.
it's just normal common sense without thinking too much. Normal common sense that you've been born with. Why do you think we see more? Why do we see more when we rise?
Because
Same
the
reason
angle
why
of
if you're on the
incident increases, and
here's a
thus
good
the horizon becomes further.
exactly. Just like if you was on a big building that was the size and the helicopter pad was the size of a football field on some type of skyscraper.
Mm-hmm.
Standing on that platform, that helicopter pad, you won't really be able to see much of the distance of how far the end of the other end of that roof. But as you get on the helicopter and rise, you then see more and more and more and more of it.
Everyone notices that. There's not one set of eyes that don't notice we see more when we rise. Right? Everyone can relate to that. That resonates with everyone. If anyone says, when I rise, I see less or the same, that's not what people see. So that can't be said. What else do we notice? there's a limitation. We do see more, but do we see all? No, we don't. What do we see? We see the horizon rise with our eye as we rise, right? But we don't see all, just more. The limitations have always been known to vision. I mean, it's not perplexing, really. It's common. It's vision. There's
so you get
there's something.
so you get into this
perspective.
heliocentric. Sorry, man, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. What'd you say, D Rose?
That was chocolate.
Oh, chocolate. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I like how you're just breaking down basics, and it's like, yeah, nobody would think otherwise because that's just reality until you get into this heliocentric nonsensical argument where people will say, well, if it's not a globe, why can't I see forever? Why can't I see China from New York? It's like, are you serious? You can't be serious asking questions like that.
Well,
know?
if you, I mean,
It's like this
it's
argument
almost-
will literally take people out of reality.
Right,
it's
into the
almost like
orthographic view. Sorry.
That's right.
Who's the guy talking, by the way?
2020 vision. 2020 vision.
Roto-Ox.
If someone, yes, sir.
It's just Chocolate asking who he was talking to.
Oh,
Yeah, what's up, Roto? I just want, yeah,
Hey,
I just want to
man.
know your name.
yeah. No, I was just saying, just fundamentals of vision, right? 2020 vision versus 2040 vision. That means if we're reading something, a person with 2020 vision can read something. It takes a person can read something 40 feet away, where it takes another person, they have to be 20 feet away from something to read it. So if you're 2400 vision, that means someone can read something from 400 feet away differently than somebody with 2020 vision. So I mean, that's what 2020 means.
Well,
There's a limit.
What about
if I
2010?
may,
Because
Roto,
my daughter had
if
2010
I
vision.
if I may, Roto, just to concur what you're saying, and being that I've been in ophthalmology for 30-something years, 2060 would be if you and I were standing 60 feet from a stop sign, you'd have to move up 40 feet closer
Correct.
to be able to see it.
Correct.
Whereas where I can see it, at that. And vice versa. 2020 means we're both at 20 feet and we could both see
Yes,
it.
sir.
But if you
Yes,
have to
sir.
come in close, it's like a minus factor. Like it's a different differential in distance from standing from one point.
Yes.
So
Well, with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and Jeepers panels for making today's live and semi-after show possible. So I should say there's an ever after show to follow, so stay tuned for that if you're watching on a Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a day! What a lovely day!